Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good day everyone. My name is Mustafa bin Muhammad Qasim. In this video, I will be presenting a case of law on cybersecurity for the course INC500, Industrial Relations, Regulation and Cybersecurity under Professor Madya Dr. Shahnawi. The case that I will be discussing is Mashitah binti Mat Hassan versus Sakinah binti Sulong, a decision by the Johor Bahru High Court of 2018. This case involves issues rising within the cyberspace, specifically relating to Facebook posting, where the court examines the legal implications of online statements and their impact on individual rights and reputations. Okay, before we look at the legal facts of this case, it is important to understand how it first captured public attention. As shown, the case was widely covered by various online news platforms and social media, with headlines that quickly attract public interest and debate. Cases like this are now common, where with one online post can lead to serious consequences. So, how did it all begin? To begin with, this case involved two main parties with very different professional background. The plaintiff, Mashitah binti Muhammad Hassan, is a well-known birth companion or doula, popularly known as Doula Mas. Her role involved providing emotional and practical support to mothers before, during, and after childbirth. The defendant, Dr. Sakinah binti Sulong, is a medical professional and a family medicine specialist. Her background and training are grounded in formal medical practice. On 4 February 2018, a baby born through a home water birth passed away. Due to the nature of the incident, it quickly became a matter of public concerns. Discussions surrounding the incident began and emerged, particularly within the online space and social media, where opinions and assumptions were freely shared. The plaintiff later denied being involved in the delivery of the baby, stating that she was not responsible for the birth process. However, at this early stage, public attention continued to focus on her role as a doula, especially as discussion in the cyberspace intensified. Following the incident between 7, 8, and 12 February 2018, the defendant published a series of posts on her personal Facebook page. These posts were made on a public platform, making them accessible to a wide audience. According to the plaintiff, the post went beyond merely sharing information or expressing concerns. Instead, they suggest that the plaintiff was involved in the baby's birth and imply that she was responsible for the baby's death. In addition, the post portrayed the plaintiff as dishonest and unethical, including the use of expressions such as dola keji, which carries strong negative connotations. Because these statements were posted on Facebook, they were easily shared, commented on, and circulated, allowing them to spread rapidly within the cyberspace. The plaintiff claimed that the widespread circulation of these statements had seriously damaged her reputation, both personally and professionally. As a result, the plaintiff commenced a defamation actions against the defendants, bringing the matter before the court for determinations. Okay. After examining the facts, the court had to consider several key legal issues in this case. The first issue was whether the Facebook postings made by the defendants were defamatory in nature. In other words, the courts need to determine whether the statement were capable of lowering the plaintiff's reputations in the eyes of right-thinking members of society. This required the court to look not only at the words use, but also at their overall meaning, context, and impact. Especially given that the statement were made in the cyberspace and accessible to the public. The second issue concerned the defense of justification. Here, the question was whether the defendant could rely on this defense by proving that the statement made in the Facebook posting were substantially true. In the defendant, if the defendant could successfully prove the truth of the allegations, then the defense of justification will provide a complete defense to the claim of defamation. And the third issue related to the defense of fair comment. The court had to consider whether the defendant's statement amounted to fair comment on a matter of public interest and whether those comments were made without malice. This involved examining whether the defendant had act responsible and whether the statement based on facts rather than assumptions or personal opinion. And finally, the fourth issue concerns damage. The court need to determine whether the damage award were appropriate and proportionate, taking into account the seriousness of defamatory statement and the extent of their circulation in the cyberspace. This issue reflects the court roles in balancing the need to compensate the plaintiff while ensuring that the award was fair and reasonable. Based on the issues raised, the court then delivered its judgment on several key aspects of the case. First, on liability, the court held that the Facebook postings were defamatory. The court found that the statements portray the plaintiff as dishonest and morally responsible for the deaths of a newborn baby. When read as a whole, the posting were capable of lowering the plaintiff's reputations in the eyes of right-thinking members of society, particularly given the wide reach of social media. Second, on the defense raised by the defendant, the court reject both the defense of justification and the defense of fair comment. The defense of justification failed because the defendant relied on unverified information and hearsay rather than proven facts. Similarly, the defense of fair comment was rejected as the comment were not based on true facts and were made with malice, especially due to the tone and persistence of the posting. Third, in relation to damage, the High Court awarded a total of 200 ringgit Malaysia, 200,000 ringgit Malaysia in damage, comprising 100,000 in general damage and another 100,000 ringgit in exemplary damage. In addition, the defendant was ordered to pay another 3,000 and another 30,000 ringgit Malaysia in costs. This reflects the seriousness of the defamatory statement on the extent of theirs. So we go to the part of analysis and critique. In analyzing the court's finding on liability, the decision shows that the court correctly applied the ordinary reader test. Rather than isolating individual words or phrases, the court assessed the Facebook posting as a whole, considering their natural and ordinary meaning. This approach is consistent with the principle established in Chok Fu Cho or alias Chok Kilian versus the China Press Berhad, where the defamatory meaning must be determined based on how an ordinary reader will understand the publication. In this case, the statements clearly portrayed the plaintiff as dishonest and morally responsible for a baby's death. When viewed from the perspective of a reasonable social media reader, such statements were capable of lowering the plaintiff's reputation in the eyes of thinking members of society. This analysis reflects the court's awareness of how meaning is perceived on social media platform, where readers often form quick judgment based on overall impressions rather than detailed scrutiny. The second one is the court's rejection of the defense of justification was also legally sound. The defendant failed to prove the truth of the allegations, relying instead of hearsay and unverified third-party information. Under defamation law, the burden of proving justification rests firmly on the defendant. This principle was clearly articulated in Tun Datuk Patigi Haji Abdul Rahman Yaakob versus Bri Senjam Berhad, where the court held that serious allegations made publicly must be supported by credible and proven facts. By rejecting the defense, the court reinforced the principle that assumptions, suspicious, or unverified claims cannot justify defamatory statement, particularly when they are disseminated widely through the cyberspace. With regard to the defense of fair comments, the court acknowledged that the issue involved a matter of public interest. However, public interest alone was not sufficient to sustain the defense. The court correctly held that fair comment must be based on true facts and made without malice, in line with Harry Isaacs versus Berita Harian. In this case, the use of derogatory expressions such as daulah keji indicate malice. This aligns with the reasoning in as Pakianatan versus Jenny Ibrahim, where malicious intent defeats the defense of fair comment. Accordingly, the court's rejection of the defense highlights that freedom of expression does not protect malicious or reckless online commentary, even when framed as opinion. In assessing damage, the court considered several relevant factors, including the gravity of the allegations, the extent of publications, and the impact of the plaintiff's reputations. This approach is consistent with the principle set out in Chin Chun alias Chin Tifat versus Chua Juimeng, where damage must reflect both the seriousness of the defamation and its reach. The award of substantial damage in this case reflects judicial recognition of the serious harm caused by defamatory statements circulated online. And finally, the court's analysis highlights the significant impact of social media in modern defamation cases. The court acknowledged the rapid and wide dissemination of information online as recognized in Datuk Sri Anwar bin Ibrahim versus Wan Muhammad Azri bin Wan Deris. Online publications were treated as serious form of communication with real legal consequences. This case, this case sent a strong message against trial by social media, particularly where comments are made without proper verifications, reinforcing accountability within the cyberspace. So, in conclusion, this case highlights how statements made in the cyberspace, particularly on social media, can carry serious legal consequences. A single post, when widely shared, has the potential to cause significant reputational harm to individuals and the public at large. The court's judgment was firmly based on established legal principles drawn from the judicial authorities and precedent cites in this reference. Okay. Okay. So with that, thank you.